Check, 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 check. Is it bouncing
Hear
now?
us? Are we okay? You can hear us now? Hello? Can you hear us, Robert? We're good?
Yes.
Okay.
30 seconds to spare, or 10? Or...
Good. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's board meeting. Thank you all for coming tonight. First of all, we'll have a reverence by Dave Roberts, who was our business administrator. And then our flag salute and pledge of allegiance will be by Michaela Morris, who is our student board member. And then we'll have recognitions from board member Connie Marchibald and our superintendent, Steve Carlson. So we'll go from there.
Our Father in heaven, as we bow our heads at this time, we're grateful for the opportunity that we have to be public servants. We're grateful for this free land that we live in and for all those that fight on the front lines for the freedoms that we enjoy each and every day. We're grateful for public education and for the opportunities and doors that it provides for those that are participating. We're grateful for the teachers and all those that are on the front lines that are supporting the learning of our students. And we ask as we go about our business tonight that we may do so in fidelity and that we may take into consideration the needs and the consideration of those students whom we serve. We ask that that would always bless us, that we may have civility and that we may be kind and gentle with one another and be patient. And these blessings we pray for at this time, Father, and we do so in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I'd like to invite you all to please stand and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm really excited for the opportunity to do recognitions tonight, as President Hyde asked me to do this. Jacqueline Whitaker is our behavior intervention specialist for Box Elder School District, and she emailed the Box Elder Board of Education recently concerning the wonderful job that Gary Allen is doing in our school district. We understand that he's curtailing and eliminating negative behaviors in our district, and we're grateful for him. Miss Whitaker stated the following. Gary Allen has worked for the Box Elder School District for many years in various capacities. Along the way, he has developed a skill set that is invaluable to his daily duties as assistant superintendent. One of these duties is his ability to masterfully mitigate with those who are feeling particularly moody. He is able to diffuse situations that are becoming volatile. Mr. Allen's gentle demeanor and ability to see the person behind the behavior has been an incredible asset to the role he plays in the safe school violation meetings and in other situations. In teaming with Bonnie Young and her nursing team, Gary has brought education into the meetings by assisting the families in recognizing the strengths that the students have instead of focusing solely on the inappropriate behavior. This humanizing of the safe school process has made a difference in the lives of struggling students. Gary is simply amazing. The Box Elder Board of Education commends Gary Allen for the awesome leadership skills he brings to the Box Elder School District. We want Mr. Allen to know how much we appreciate his hard work and dedication and his continued efforts to make the Box Elder School District a better and safer place for both adults and students. Thank you so much, Gary Allen.
I'd like to chime in on that. Yeah, as many of you know, or those in the room may not know, that Gary is retiring this year after a wonderful career here in Box Elder School District. And I've had the great pleasure of working with Gary directly for the last 5 years, and it's been a pleasure. And he, we joke a lot that both of us got the gray hair and I have no hair, but it's been a pleasure. Gary's been a principal in elementary, intermediate. I don't know, did you spend any time at the middle school administration? He's been an assistant principal at the high school, and he's been the principal of both Bear River High School and Box Elder High School, which is really quite a feat. And so he's been a real, just a stable powerhouse in our school district. And I just couldn't go without saying thank you publicly to Gary. And I'll get a chance in the next few months to thank him for the great help he is, and I appreciate it. Okay, we had something happen today that in one of our schools, and this is personal, a little bit, but I decided to heck with it. I don't do this very often, so I'm going to do it. My grandson Deegan is here today. Raise your hand, Deegan. And we got notified, I think, last week that he had a special thing happen today, and this is about Deegan. But even more than about Deegan, it's about some of the great people and young men that we have in our school district. And Deegan has a reward system, and he earned a whole bunch of points. And at 3 Mile Creek, he's a 5th grader there, and his teacher is Elise Olson, just happens to be Mr. Roberts, what did I say? Niece. It's Mr. Roberts' niece. And yeah. Anyway, so Deegan earned enough points that he got to get a reward. And he thought about it, and he chose to have lunch with a couple of his really good friends that he's grown to get to know in going to basketball camps at Box Elder High School the last 2 summers. And both of these guys, if anybody recognizes them, on the left, I guess, well, this way, this side, how's that? The shorter one of the two there, his name is Cooper Stevenson, and the other one is Cole Mortensen. They both start on the basketball team. They both start on the football team. Cole just happened to be voted as the area football player of the year on a great football team. And he wanted to have lunch with these 2 heroes of his. And Gary, is there another picture there? And he not only wanted to have lunch with his heroes, but he wanted to include some of his friends. And I just think this is outstanding that these 2 young men, and I didn't even check, but I will just about guarantee you they're probably at the very least a 3.8, maybe 3.9 GPAs. They're just unbelievably great kids. And Deegan, we go to a Little League baseball game, and these guys are there umping games. We go to Little League football, they're there. And I've heard Cooper go, Deegan, across the hallway or across the field. The night that Bear River played Box Elder in basketball, and Bear River had just an unbelievably great game and beat Box Elder, and it was a tough game, but Deegan just sprinted down there. And even though they lost a really hard game, Cooper still bent down and gave him a hug. And I wish that I wanted to do it today, because if we waited a month, it would just lose some of but they're playing tonight. And I'm going to go personally and deliver these letters to these 2 outstanding young men and say thank you for being the great role model you are. And thank Deegan, and my wife doesn't come to these very often. And so thank you for coming, honey. And Deegan's mom, Megan, and Justin, her husband, and Deegan's little brother, Cyrus. And they're a part of our family. Deegan goes to 3 Mile Creek, and they drop him off every morning. And then he leaves, and he comes home from school while they're working. And just a great joy. And it's been a pleasure for me to have one of my 19 grandchildren go to school in the same district that I'm the superintendent in. And to know that I get to gauge some of the things that we're trying to do by what's going on in his life, and get to see the great things that's happening, and it's meaningful to get to feel that, where the last school district I was in, I didn't really get to see that, and it's the first time with all these grandkids to get to do that. So I've taken a lot of time, but thank you, Deegan, and just so glad that Mom and Dad got to bring you here, and little brother's here cheering you on. And you're going to do something right now that we want Gary to join in and to come up here and shake everybody's hand. Okay? Smile.
Great, Deacon. Nice to meet you. That was fun. Thank you, Connie, and thank you, Superintendent. They were great recognitions. Now we need a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll move.
Okay, so
Probably Karen and then Nancy.
Karen.
I'll second.
Okay, Karen. Karen made the motion and Nancy Kennedy did the second on that. And so we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Karen.
Danielle Wright, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes.
Connie Archibald, yes.
Brian Smith, yes.
Okay, we have approved tonight's agenda. So now we'll go on to public comment. And we do have one individual, Mary Ann Cox. Mary Ann here, okay. I'll just go over just a few of the guidelines before public comment. And Mary, you can come right up to the microphone here. We ask patrons that they state their name prior to making the comments, and that we ask them to hold it to 3 minutes, okay? And then also, if you have a handout, you can give us handouts if you'd like. And the board will not take final action or have discussion on items presented during public comments unless the item is already on the meeting agenda. And then comments on personnel issues will not be allowed during public comments. So that's just a heads up. Okay? Okay, go for it, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you. I will try very hard. I didn't know about the 3 minutes, so I will talk fast. My name's Mary Ann Cox. I have 5 children, 4 of which are currently in the schools. And for the last 3 years, I've had one in every single age school, and that will be the case for the next 4 years. I'm here because I understand that the district is working to resolve bus driver shortages and transportation issues. And I understand that changing the start times of schools is being discussed as a potential solution. And I just wanted to come and communicate some of my concerns. I wanted to start, though, by saying I just moved to Brigham 3 years ago, that year that COVID happened. And that year after, I listened in on all of your virtual school board meetings when you were discussing restoring the full school day, possibly changing times. And I was just very impressed how this board handled it, how there was ideas, but then you took public comment and people could email. And as I listened to those next 2 board meetings, I was super impressed with how the board kind of changed approach after getting everybody's input. And I was really pleased with watching the whole process. That's not always the process I've witnessed in previous school boards. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I recognize it, and I just hope that that can be kind of a similar situation for this. In addition to being a parent of various age children, I also teach private music lessons to students in my home. These lessons have to occur after school. My children are also involved in many various extracurricular activities. If all the elementary schools are changed to a later start and end time, it will significantly impede the ability to participate in these activities. I have watched as several local businesses like mine have had to adjust their schedules just to try and accommodate the later start time at Golden Spike this year. Some of them have been able to offer classes or practices at earlier times and then offer later classes for Golden Spike kids. But if all the elementaries move to a later time, this will not be possible. Already this year, the dance studio we're involved with has classes going until 8:30 and 9 o'clock at night. And that means kids who live in more rural areas of the county don't get home until after 9. But that's with just one school on a later start time. If they can't begin classes until 4:30 every day, that would push everything so late for young children. And this assumes that the instructors and owners can even allow for that. It's possible it would affect their ability to offer as many classes or accommodate as many kids and see a reduction in their business, myself included. I'm also really concerned as to how this would affect how much children will have to miss school for appointments. Currently, I try really hard to make doctors, dentists, orthodontists, all the things for all the kids to be after school so that my kids don't miss that instruction time. But if kids don't get out till after 4, that will be virtually impossible. I believe in the value of my children being in school. I don't want to pull them out. They already miss enough for sports and illness and unexpected things. Then I thought about making the secondary schools later and leaving elementary schools earlier. And this basically brings up the same concerns, but it also adds the problem of how many kids are involved in high school sports and clubs and in competitions. As the northernmost school in our district, we have to travel the farthest for all the away games, all the district competitions. And if the high school started later, our kids would literally miss twice the amount of class periods to participate in these events. I'm not a teacher in this district, but I do know several teachers, and they've expressed concerns with how they would possibly take care of their own children's appointments and activities if their workday was extended in the afternoon by an hour, especially those that teach in the rural schools outside Brigham City boundaries. And all of this is exacerbated by families that have children in multiple schools. Currently, there's a 50-minute span between my kids' start and end, and I'm just trying to imagine if that got extended to an hour and 50 minutes. If I had little kids in school tier 4, but my older kids get out at 2:40 at the middle school, I couldn't really leave to take older kids anywhere because then no one's home when my little kids get home. And I'm lucky enough to work from home. My job lets me work from home. I have flexibility. I can't imagine what this would do to working parents. Elementary age children will be left alone for over an hour and a half, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon, whichever way this was done. I know this year's situation is not the same decision as the post-COVID situation, and I can imagine that addressing the transportation is difficult. I am not going to pretend I have the knowledge of the situation to, suggest any alternatives, but I am hoping that this decision will be based on more than just efficiency and cost. This decision will significantly impact the lives of all families in the district, all the teachers, their families, so many activities, so many businesses. And I'm just pleading that you will reach out and survey and inquire and discuss this with the patrons of the district and the teachers and the school staff in reaching the best decision. I just want to say I sincerely appreciate your time. I appreciate the service that you give to a board like this. I'm forever grateful for what you guys do for my kids in school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate your input.
Do you have
Thank you
any
so much.
questions for me? Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. This board meeting is a little different than a lot of board meetings because we actually have 2 sections of public comment. Our next public comment is on school fees, and we didn't know if there was anyone here to comment on student school fees. Okay, then we move on.
Mr. Hyde,
Yes.
before we go forward,
Okay.
I'm curious, would the students like to introduce themselves and maybe tell us why you're here? Yeah, the 3 want to introduce yourselves? Thanks for coming. That's really fun.
Yes.
And the lady in the back, I think I know why you're here, but would you introduce yourself? Okay, tell them your name, please. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, welcome
And
to everyone.
You've been here with us before, so we won't have you introduce yourself. Is that all right? Thank you.
Thank you all for coming, yes. Okay, we will move along. Now we're doing our administrative oath of office. And that is Dave Roberts, our business administrator.
So I just have a question. Would you guys all like to come up front, or would you want to stand right where you're at?
I think we're good to stand right where we're at. What do you
Okay.
think? I think we're good.
I didn't know if you guys wanted it to be a picture moment. So, Wade, Julie, and Karen, would you please arise? Would you repeat after me? I, then state your name,
I, Wade Hyde,
having been elected to the office of Box Elder School Board member,
Box Elder School Board member,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge
and I will discharge
the duties of my office with fidelity.
the duties of my office with fidelity.
You're official.
Thank you.
You should, oh,
Don't they need to raise their
they
hand?
should have. Do we need to do it again?
How official do you want them?
Well, so in actuality, this doesn't have to be done. We just do it because I guess it's kind of a, it's one of those things that you can be recognized in the public for. But by law, you don't have to do it if you've already been elected before and in the position. But a lot of school districts do it just like we do. Some school districts do not. So
I think we're good.
you good?
We're good. Okay, so now we move on to our action items, and our first one is the approval of our capital improvement budget, but our presenter for that is Corey Thompson, is our facilities director in the Box Elder School District. Thank you, Corey.
Okay, thank you. So this is in board book, so you can see it, maybe see it easier than up on the screen. So the way I've presented this has kind of evolved over the years that I've been here. We did it a little bit differently again this year. What you're seeing now, the presentation is the same format, but as I start to, well, actually, this list of projects to be done in the school district it usually starts in the spring. So I get this approved in February so that our contractors can get the bids out in March and we get ahead of the summer work. So it actually saves us money to get the bids out there now than if we wait later in the spring. So consequently, if I have administrators come to me and say, hey, I've got this that I'd like to do in my building, and it's March or April, then I'm saying, okay, I'll add you to the list for the next year. And so this list really started last March, and it's just been building. And then in December, I meet with our construction manager and give them the list and the things that they're going to be taking care of. They get me just some estimation. It's not a hard proposal. Then if the budget gets approved, then they go out and they get actual hard number proposals to go along with the projects. This year we did a little bit differently, is in that I had the list, I had the estimation numbers, and then we met with our long-term capital committee. What we did is discussed the projects, and then as a committee, we determined the priority list or the priority level. So we have, and as I look at the deciding factors with the priority levels, maybe that needs to be changed a little bit because everything doesn't really fall necessarily in those descriptions. But as far as the priority level of extreme need, high priority, medium priority, and low priority, as a committee, we determined, we talked about each particular project, and then as a committee assigned a priority level to that. And so we do have the 4 levels. If you scroll to the bottom, to do all of those projects, we'd be looking at just over 2.5 million. And some of these projects are a per school price. And so within this budget, we would just be able to do 1 school during this next fiscal year, starting in July. Others were a per school estimation, but as a committee, we decided that we would just assign a dollar amount, and I would do as many schools as I could for that dollar amount. Those on the committee, does that make sense as to how it played out? Okay. Okay. I can go through every project, but that might be a little crazy. Yes, so the CM is construction manager. So that is our construction manager that we're contracted with, that's DWA. And so those are bigger projects that my maintenance crew doesn't have the time to do. Some of the, I have a flooring contractor, it's wall-to-wall commercial flooring that we're contracted with to do the flooring upgrades. And so when you see cafeteria floorings and then carpet requests, which is a separate budget than this, that all goes through them. And so all of those X's represent projects that we would work with DWA to complete.
A question.
Yes.
So have all the schools now had the safe vestibule, however you say that word?
So the secure entrances.
Yeah, are all the schools now have all those?
So we're still working on, I got to start at the south end of the district. We're still working on Willard and Discovery and Century. Those are the 3 elementary schools that we are still working on. And it's really a balance between, do we just take the existing vestibule and harden it so that, like, if you've been to North Park, you are stopped inside that inner vestibule and you have to buzz in. Some of these vestibules, like at Willard, it's a very small vestibule. So you couldn't even fit a chair in there. At North Park, it's great because people can come in there. There's plenty of room to have benches and chairs and people can sit in there out of the weather. But other schools like Discovery and Century and Willard, they don't have those larger vestibules. So then the whole dilemma is, do we make people wait outside or do we put an additional storefront or glass wall inside? So that's kind of been the dilemma. We're slowly working forward on that. And the incident at North Park that really was the catalyst to get North Park going there has helped us in that people are more open to, like our office staffs are more open to that having to buzz in, because they perceive it as an extra duty, but in the long run, the benefits outweigh. So if that
So when you
helps.
say you're working on it, when do I've received 2 calls from, I think it's Century. Is that up by Bear River City?
Century is in Bear River City.
So I've just received a couple of calls about some concerns up in that area. Do we have a plan that will be done?
Yeah,
And
so I've
when?
been working, I don't see Jared in here, but at North Park, we have it's a box that's a card reader and microphone and a buzz, and so they can get there and buzz the office. So we need to get those ordered and get those in. Our plan is by the end of the year, if
By the
not
end of
sooner.
this school year?
That's the hope, yeah.
So
So
what you're
is,
saying, when you put that up, then they'll have to buzz in, so we won't build a new storefront or anything like that.
Right, that'd be the hope, because if we put in a new storefront, just for the storefront, it's gonna be a long lead time and depends on the place, could be spending $10,000 at least just for the storefront.
so I guess I haven't been to North Park. Do we feel that that is adding the safety measure that we need? Because that was the concern, was that they wanted that safety. there.
Yeah, it is a lockdown campus now, so that the only way into that building is buzz in through the front door.
Is there I think I know this, but is there a camera there too, or is it just voice when they buzz in?
Remember, I don't know if Robert knows, I'm pretty sure that box had a camera in it, because you can get
does have a
different
camera.
boxes. Yeah, that one does. So they do have different models, but that's the one that we got there. And for Century and North Park, those have the advantage that the office is situated such that the glass windows, you can actually see through. So that's a benefit. And one thing that I've heard, just because people get creative, and at Golden Spike, because they have the full hardened entrance and the buzz in, that parents have just started calling and saying, hey, I need to pick up my daughter Sally for a dentist appointment. I'll be there in about 10 minutes. And so the secretary calls Sally down to the office and says, okay, your parent's going to be here in 10 minutes. I want you to stand by that window, look out the window when they're here, tell me. And then they just log it as a phone in checkout. So as that gives me hope that what we're doing is not going to inconvenience parents as much as what would initially be the assumption. So
May I just ask Shaylin and Dax at the back of the room
oh yeah, they
about
could tell us.
Golden Spike? Now, help me understand, they can come into the office. No, they have to get buzzed into the office. Okay. Okay. So they have to get buzzed in to actually come into the office, and then the secretary also has to hit the button to let them get into the, so there's kind of a double there. Very good. And how, I know that started out, it was a little bit inconvenient. Is that slowly gotten better?
That work order is in.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, so they both have to be there in order to get somebody all the way, okay.
And I've been at Golden Spike at a time when that exact situation was a benefit. We had a parent that was beelining it to a classroom to find a kid that had said something mean to his daughter and couldn't go. So,
Wow.
so there are some benefits. The benefits outweigh. So. Your mic's not on.
I think that's what the two colors, they're just concerned about the safety.
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure that that was on a relatively soon project list.
Yeah, it's not on this fiscal year 24 because we've already allocated money. We've already talked about it. It's already in the works. It's going to be done before we would need it on this one.
Okay.
So,
I move that the proposed fiscal year 2024 budget for capital improvement projects to be approved. Is it too soon for that?
Okay. Tiffany Summers made the motion and Julie Taylor did the second. Let's have a roll call vote, starting with Karen.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Julie, yes. Danielle Wright, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes.
Connie Archibald, yes.
Tiffany Summers, yes.
Brian Smith, yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you,
okay.
Corey.
Thank you.
Appreciate all your
Any
help.
other questions? I know there's always other thoughts, but I'm happy to sit down.
Okay. Thank you, Corey. Okay, we will move on to our discussion on school fees. And help me here, Robert. Keith was going to chime in, or is Gary going to do it? I wasn't sure. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Sounds great. Okay, Gary, go for it.
So Keith's recommendation is that you approve the 23-24 general student fees and deposits. And I know we've made some corrections, I think a couple of times over the last several months, just because of things that have changed. It's so early to present this. So his recommendation is that we approve them. You can see on there that there's the annual requirement to discuss, and identified that for the past several months we've reviewed each document and made the deletions, corrections, and then it does follow policy 5230. So that would be our recommendation. And just a side note to that, I just handed out a sheet. There was a request that you guys would like to know the fee waivers and how many were participating in the cost there. So that's what that sheet is in front of you.
I can't see very well, Dave. I'm going to ask a question. I didn't bring my
Hey,
reading glasses.
That was done intentionally.
Yeah, no, I'm just seeing the total dollar amount charged or total dollar amount of fees waived for extracurricular activities. Because I know a lot of times that's where we run into these, like, that's the athletics and the activities that, or we have these high things. Am I reading that right? That the total amount that we paid in fee waivers just, is that $3,205
Yeah.
total?
That's correct.
So that's all that we've had to pay for fee waivers that, for the extracurricular.
Yeah,
Okay.
extracurricular is your athletics, clubs, driver's ed, those kind of things.
Okay.
Yep. And the
Thank
other
you.
one that was waived would be your co-curricular. That would be like choir, student government, Rockettes, LIA, those kind of things for co-curricular. So those are related to
Fees waived.
a class that they take during the day, but these would be activities that they would participate after hours.
So it's really not a large, what I'm saying is I'm reading that right, that it's not a huge amount.
It's
that
not.
we've- Okay.
It's remarkably refreshing.
Yeah, that's what I was.
You're welcome.
Very helpful. Thank you, Dave. Are there any questions we have for Gary?
We have Keith in.
Oh, Keith? Oh, there's Keith right there. Okay.
I'm not sure if we can hear him, but we can see him even in the video. So we're good. Yeah. Keith? We can hear you, but you're kind of light, so I'm going to try to get you going again. You are never quiet, my friend. I've just lost the volume. It's gone into the room, so.
Are you finding some good teachers? Excellent.
Just FYI, Keith's are you in Cedar City tonight or are you already St. George? Oh, we've lost you totally. He's in both of those recruiting teachers from Southern Utah, both Southern Utah and Utah Tech. Thank you. I froze for a minute. Polytechnical College or Utah Tech, whatever they call it.
Well, I move that we approve the 23-24 general student fees and as presented.
Okay, do we have a second for that? Oh, okay. Okay, so we have a motion from Julie and a second from Tiffany. And, okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
I know that's what I'm saying.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Julie Taylor, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes?
Brian Smith, yes.
Nancy Kennedy, yes?
Okay, the motion on school fees for 2023-24 passes. So we're good. So we'll move along to our approval of our men's volleyball. And Gary, are you going to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
So you'll see the recommendation in front of you. It says it's recommended that we approve, Board of Education approve the participation of the UHSAA of boys volleyball for both varsity and junior varsity levels at both Bear River and Box Elder for the 23-24 school year and beyond, increasing the sophomore and freshman level as interest dictates. So again, the intent is to have the competitive level would be for sure the JV and varsity, and then a feeder program with your sophomore and freshman. So that would be the recommendation. You can see there are some costs involved. The biggest one that we see is obviously the coaching for those positions, and then there would be transportation. There is always a preseason games, and then the region competitions. And most of our games for region, of course, go south.
And then you can see the practice gear. So that's added in the fee waiver, or your fee schedule, excuse me. And then you can see the salaries there. But our recommendation is, I think we had a representative speak to us a couple of months ago at our board meeting, indicating that they felt that there was interest and enough to get the programs going. So that would be our recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Any discussion or questions on that?
Are the financial implications for the both, that's a total for Box Elder and Bear River? Or was that 18,000 for each school?
Did you hear that, Keith?
I did. That is the total for the anticipated cost based on our salary schedules right now for both.
Both programs.
All schools.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Good
Okay.
question.
I move that we approve the participation in the UHSAA of boys volleyball for both varsity and JV levels at both Bear River and Box Elder High Schools for the school year 2023-24 and beyond, and increasing in the sophomore and freshman levels as interest dictates.
Okay, we have a motion by Brian Smith and a second by Connie Archibald, and we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Karen.
Julie Taylor, yes.
Danielle Wright, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes.
Connie Archibald, yes.
Tiffany Summers, yes.
Brian Smith, yes.
Nancy Kennedy, yes.
Okay, the approval for men's volleyball has passed, so thank you. Okay, now we'll go on to our information items. First of all, Dave Roberts, Bear River High School bleachers donation.
So this is an information item only because the actual cost is actually below the board required approval. But the bleachers at the baseball field at Bear River High School will be replaced. That cost is just under $90,000, and we do have a donor that has committed to 50% of that. So we're excited for that and for that improvement at Bear River High School.
We had that discussion with our policy committee because the way it read, and we also have that, Gary, could you click on that maybe quickly? We have this, you're good. It's H1. And I think we put one line in there to try to clarify it just a little bit. And what it comes down to is the amount being donated is under $50,000. And the amount that needs to be approved is under $50,000. And the threshold for the board to give their approval is $50,000. And so it was right under it. And it's interesting that we just barely worked on this policy. And then this came along just as it did. And so you can see that line up there that we added to try to clarify everything there in number 3. If the superintendent and/or business administrator determine the project or activity to be of value and the request for matching funds is over $50,000, the request will be placed before the board for approval. And since this is under $50,000, then we're not presenting that. But we just felt, because we'd already discussed this, that we wanted to make you aware of this proposal.
Yeah, and I think also too that the change in the policy was after this had been sent to us, so that's why we wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate that. And Dave, you get the next one.
Yes.
For business administrator, your financial report.
So the financial report is before you. I think most of the items we've talked about, the revenue is above what we're expecting as of right now, running, over the percentage of the budget year that we've already passed through. However, there is one item that I need you guys to be aware of, and it is in red on page 6. Yep, there you go. So I didn't prepare this budget, but I just wanted you guys to make aware of this. This amount is low, and I don't know where the amount came from, other than the fact that that amount does include what was remaining to be owed to our CM, which was Hogan Construction. However, I think somewhere there might have been maybe a lapse in communication, but that did not include the amount for change orders or the furniture budget. So that amount there, that's why that's in red. And as of right now, we're expecting that to be completely paid. So we're not expecting that amount to go up dramatically more, maybe 20, 30,000 at this time. But that is something that I thought needed to be brought to your attention. So I will have to, during this year, revise the budget to show that reflection in that cost. But just need you guys to be aware of that, and that we will be needing to cover that cost. So there will be other things that we will not be able to do in order to make sure that the cost of Golden Spike in its completeness is paid.
Thank you,
Dave?
Dave. Any questions for Dave?
When you say there will be things that we will not be able to do, is that in relation to Golden Spike or just as a district?
No, it has nothing to do with the finishing up of Golden Spike. It has to do with just other things that we may have been able to consider doing, like additional vehicle purchases,
In the
maybe additional
district.
bus purchases, those kind of things. As we get to the end of the budget year, there may have been some money left over in some of those budgets that we will not be allowing our budget directors to be spending.
Okay, that was my question, if it was particular to Golden Spike or to the district
To-
as a whole.
Okay. We budgeted for 1.9. The total cost is 3.6. Yep.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, we're good. Thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate that. Now we'll go on to our legislative update. Superintendent Carlson.
Do you mind clicking on that? Oops. Do you mind on H3, clicking on the JLC tracking document first? As you can see, we're, I believe, just about halfway through the session. And we've talked about it a little bit, I think, via email and text message. The big announcement of the year was the passage of House Bill 215 that approved vouchers in the state of Utah and some homeschool finances to the amount of $8,000 a student. There's been a few bills since then have tried to clarify some things, and so one of those things that we're fighting against, I think it's on here, where we get down to the lower part, is they have what they call micro schools, and a micro school is 25 students or less, and if they form a micro school, then the vouchers could be used. And if it's 25 students and let's say a group of people get together and they form this micro school, they could actually ask for the $8,000, and I think pretty quickly you'll see that's $200,000 that they could probably help pay for each other. And the real problem that's worrisome to us is that there's no accountability on the need for teacher certification, any kind of qualification, and that one scares me probably as much as anything. Also, they've bypassed the situation that happened, I believe, in about 07, 08. The legislature passed a voucher bill, and the education community, both the UEA, the School Boards Association, Superintendents Association, all went to work. They got the signatures and had the issue placed on the ballot for that following November. And with all the work of the education community, had that referendum defeated. And so the legislature went to work in the House and changed the rules that if 50 members of the House vote for a issue, it cannot be placed on the referendum. And so this year, I believe they got 52, 53 people to vote for it, so it cannot be brought to the people. So that's, and I will also say this in a public meeting because it's public knowledge that they suspended their own rules when they were debating this in the House and did it in an afternoon and debated it, I think the second day maybe and it was very obvious that this had been decided during the summer, and it's, I'm just going to say it in a public meeting, it's disheartening because I feel like, and I'm going to say it, democracy was not really held true, and the true light of day just didn't evolve here. The Senate, they did debate it in the Senate, but I believe the Senate passed with, I'm not sure, I think almost everybody voted for it. Yeah. So the feeling is they were going to have vouchers and we were going to have to, and the thing that was a little disheartening as well is they placed on that same bill a $6,000 teacher benefit package. And so on that same bill, teachers will get $6,000. Now that needs to be clarified in that it's $6,000 that they get paid. That's their gross. And we figure most people, and it ends up being, did I say that backwards?
Yes.
I did.
Yeah. So superintendent, that's, yeah, $6,000 will be what will be funded, but 1,800 of that will have to be taken off the top to cover the benefit costs of paying them $4,200.
$4,200 is what they'll actually
Is what
see.
will they'll actually see on their pay stub.
Okay. So that's been probably the biggest one. Go ahead.
That's just one time. That's just this year, correct?
It'll be ongoing.
It's ongoing?
Yeah. And they're going to add that to what's already called the legislative money, and that's 4,000. So there'll be that ongoing legislative money that they get every year. So, so that one passed. It's been the big talk, and now they've gotten down to the business of doing some other things. But there are other bills that come about. Like I said, this micro school thing for homeschooling, that really concerns us. The different ways they can work things around.
I'm just wondering, how did our legislators vote on that?
Our legislators voted in favor of it, and
All three?
yes. And I met with, the day after the vote, I believe it was a Friday. Yes, it was, because we watched it happen when we were at the JLC. I met with Matt Gwynn and Tom Peterson, and they were both very in favor of it. They had a lot of statistics, they had a lot of numbers, they had a lot of information that they felt strongly that it's good for education. I had a text exchanged with Senator Sandel. He as well had a ton of statistics that had been provided them by someone and felt like it was the right thing to do for public education.
I was going to say, I had a text exchange with Senator Sandel, and I said because I wasn't down at the JLC, but I watched the live streaming, and I watched the whole debate, and when he spoke about why he was voting the way he was, he said that he said he wasn't pressured in any way to do this. He's really researched it himself, and I said I would be interested in knowing those numbers. So he sent me a link to his data if any of you are interested, and I haven't had time to look through it, but again, it's a little disheartening because statistics and data can be made to look how you want them to look, depending on.
I think he sent all of us the same data.
Okay.
I got the same numbers, and I think his intern just hit send. I think they were prepared in advance. Superintendent, one thing in clarification of this, after this, now they're doing all these cleanup bills, which are getting uglier and uglier. Lincoln Fillmore, his just came out of rules, and that's the one talking about this. Lincoln Fillmore said now that 20 kids can be in a homeschool. 20. And they're setting it up and to change the allowances so that a city can't keep a school out of an area. So now if you have a micro school or a homeschool, the city has no say if you have 20 cars dropping kids off and coming and going every day, that the city has to allow these micro schools and homeschools to be allowed free reign in their schools. So that has come out of rules. That's another really ugly one. So as they're going through, they've gotten this one passed. Now they're massaging all these others. But I have to say, I am so tickled for our UEA. They stood up and said, this is not right. We should not be doing this. And I think this was done intentionally to cause a schism between those of us on school boards and teachers. And we've just been lockstep right together all the way. And I can't say enough good about the teachers in the state who understand what this really is doing to public ed. One of the saddest things we had on Friday, Governor Cox's wife came to address JLC, got up with tears in her eyes and said they had this survey of 98,000. Utahns had said that 91% of them thought their public schools were the greatest things ever. And we're sitting there and you're undercutting us all. Anyway, it's a hard time. But thank you, teachers. You guys are amazing, and thanks to all your people that do this, because we're all in this together, and it's a good deal.
Sorry, go ahead.
Question, Nancy mentioned Lincoln. Who's he a lobbyist for?
He's a senator.
Oh, he is now.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was thinking another Lincoln, sorry.
No, this is Lincoln Fillmore, been a senator for probably 10 years.
Yeah.
Very anti-public school.
I was thinking of another Lincoln,
Yeah.
sorry.
Just an information item for all of the board, but for people also in the audience. The form you see in front of you, you hear us refer to JLC. It's actually called the Joint Legislative Committee. And what that's made up of is a select group of Utah School Board Association members, and Nancy is part of that. And then also superintendents from across the state, and I'm part of that group. And then we have business administrators that are at the meeting. They're not actually voting members, but they're there basically explaining what all these numbers mean. And so every Friday, the Joint Legislative Committee gets together and they hear bills that are referencing education. And we take a position on those bills. At times, they have people that are presenting the bills, either a House member or a senator come in. They present their bill. They tell us why it's good for education. We get to ask questions. And because of the pandemic, 2 years ago, we started actually meeting at the Granite School District office down on State Street. Great big huge auditorium. And anybody that wanted to, either a House member or a senator, would have to Zoom in and explain their bill, and we were able to ask back and forth. Starting day after tomorrow, we're actually going to go back up on the Hill, and we'll be able to be up there. And when senators or House members want to present a bill to get our approval, then they will come live to us, and we'll be able to ask questions. And so we'll start that Friday. And there's a lot of folks up there who really want and seek the approval of this Joint Legislative Committee, and to be able to see how we feel about certain bills. And as you can see, there's basically three stands we take. We either support your bill, and generally we'll have some rhetoric that our lobbyists, Lexi Cunningham is a paid lobbyist, along with members of the leadership of both the USBA and leadership of the Utah School Superintendents Association, are up on the Hill most all the time during the week. They'll go to these legislators and explain to them why we support the bill and also why we oppose it. And sometimes they take that into account and they try to make corrections on their bill, make amendments, make some changes, and get it changed. And then we either support, we oppose, or we just don't take any action, so that it doesn't say that we support it or against it. And it's a tough game, because a lot of times a portion of the bill is helpful, but then there are other portions that are just, and a lot of them are just that it's really a local education association, LEA, which is a school district's responsibility. And that's a lot of what we do. It should be the local school district that makes those decisions, and not the state, the state law telling us what to do. And so I think that's one of the big reasons we oppose a lot of those things. And so as we go up and down those bills, you can see green support and red oppose. And you can see right there, for example, right there on I believe it's the second page, Gary, you can see it says oppose, if that's the second page. And out there it says local control issue. Elements of bill are addressed in current code. And so there's a lot of times they'll come up with a bill that just makes it more onerous for our principals, our teachers. There was a big bill last year that was really pushed that teachers had to have all of their information online 30 days before they taught it. And it just becomes a big issue if there's absences, if there's all those types of things, and it made it harder. And so as we go through, I would be willing to take any questions from that particular Joint Legislative Committee form. And yes, just last night, the other one, Gary, if you wouldn't mind hitting that other agenda item that's on this one. There's subcommittees up on the Hill that are constantly working, and one of them is the Education's Appropriation Committee, and they take into account everything all the money that goes in that's being requested for education. And this particular one is had just came out last night, and so I'm not going to lie, there's some questions I was texting during the day and trying to find out, some questions about a couple of things, and one of them, the very top one, it says WPU, and I've been trying to find out all day, and I still haven't found out, because if you look at it, I believe does it say 104 million? Thank you. And that's concerning because we were told early on that it would be about a 5% WPU increase. Now, what a WPU is a weighted pupil unit. So that basically means that for every student in the state of Utah, right now it's about $4,008 that we receive from the state for every student that we have in our school district. That would be increased X amount. And right now, 1% increased is about $40 million. And so if you look at that $104 million number, it doesn't take long to do the math to see that's about 2.5%. So I don't know. I've asked my colleagues, and we're all unsure of what exactly that means. Now, some of them said that has something to do with the all-day kindergarten increase. I believe the very next one on there,
Three down.
the fourth one, is full-day kindergarten, and that's $36 million. And I don't know if that's enough money to fully fund full-day kindergarten. So I'm not going to lie, some of these things that we're going to have to get clarified on Friday when we're down there with our colleagues having that discussion. And so our concern is, especially if that first line is the way that it is the teachers, which rightfully so, and I want this to come very clear, deserve this $4,200 raise, $6,000 overall, but $4,200. But they're also the rest of our staff. We heard, from public comment that we know we have a problem with bus driver shortage. We have a few other areas that we have a shortage of. This $6,000 does not go towards administrators. And so we were very hopeful if we got 5% on the WPU that we could take maybe 1% of that right off the top and try to help everybody out and then give teachers and the whole staff a raise more. But if it's only 2.5%, that really cuts down on our ability to help level the field just a little bit. And so there's a lot to be learned on Friday. And so I apologize, but that's what this was sent, I believe yesterday, the education appropriation recommendation to the, I believe it's just the budget appropriations to meld it all together with roads and social services and medical and just anything you can think of that tax dollars goes towards to pay. Sure.
So one thing for the students, as you're going through this, in the state budget, there are two different categories. There's above the line and below the line. Above the line is ongoing things that
Thank
we
you for,
have committed to do.
that always happens right
Very
when
often, public ed has been below the line, so we kind of feel like Oliver Twist going with our hat every year saying, please serve, some money for the kiddos. But they have moved a lot of education funding now above the line. However, as the superintendent said, this initial bill, when it was the first funding bill that was presented, they call it a boxcar bill where they put all the funding in for the session. It was only a 3.4 WPU, and they have not talked about moving that. But currently, if it's an ongoing priority, that is above the line, and that helps us out a lot. If it's below the line, we're begging every year. So when you're doing your school stuff, that's where we're at.
Superintendent,
Yes.
can you talk to 1C, the second one down on the second list? the flexible school safety. Let's go. It looks like that's where most of the money is, $175
Yeah,
million.
that's because this year our economy is so roaring, and we really is. The state of Utah is one of the most prosperous states. They have a lot of what they call one-time money, and they don't want to put it into anything ongoing. And so what that will mean is I think they'll basically divvy it out like they did this year. I believe there was $90 million that was divvied out, and our portion, based on the number of students we have, is about 1.8 or 1.9% of the total. And this past year, they had a $90 million fund in that, or amount in that fund, and it turned into 1.2 million, yeah, something like that. And that's that was partly for rural infrastructure, so we were able to use that for our Grouse Creek renovation. And so right now that's a pretty good chunk of money to do things like what Corey talked about and other safety issues, along with one of the things they would like us to look at is, I've just lost the word, Corey, when we're trying to reinforce masonry. Reinforced masonry. That's the word I was looking for. And as you know, Corey's 1970s, if it was built in the 70s, if it was built before the 70s, it's probably unreinforced masonry. What that means is that it probably doesn't have rebar and steel in the concrete, and in the brick walls. And much like what happened, unfortunately, we see the tragedy in Turkey, most of those buildings that collapsed probably were unreinforced masonry, where if it's enforced masonry, the chances are in an earthquake that it would stand and there'd be less damage overall. Am I stating that okay, Corey? So, yeah, it doesn't collapse as much. So that's one of the things, and we do have buildings in our school district that are old enough that we're trying to, that's one of our plans to replace those buildings as we have appropriate money.
So Superintendent, one other thing on this list that's kind of disingenuous, Representative Wilcox and down in Weber County is pushing a $25 million school safety bill. But when you get down to this, 20 million of that is to be used for someone to design a firearm recognition system to go into schools. And then 5 million of that 25 million is for the schools to implement that. So while it's 25 million for school safety, looks like a screaming deal, we get 5 million of the 25 and the rest goes to private individuals who are developing a program and putting something out. So while the number looks pretty robust, there's a lot being siphoned off to other places.
Okay, any other comments on the legislature?
I just have a question. What can we do now? Like, I feel like everything just happened right at the beginning. Is there anything that we need to be reaching out to our representatives or is just stay the course?
Well, I think what we have found and what the JLC preaches is developing personal relationships with our legislators. And through this all, I was finally able to meet Representative Matt Gwynn. I have his personal cell phone number, not his legislative cell phone. So with that, that's going to be good. Tom Peterson has reached out to me on a couple of occasions about a couple of bills, and I was able to reference the JLC stand and why we're standing that way. And it was interesting because he reached out and the bill just was voted on, and luckily he'd voted, in our viewpoint, the correct way. And so he just said, I felt like, and I think it was one of those deals where I probably saw the text an hour too late. And so I felt really good. And Senator Sandel has always been really good if he has a question, and Senator Sandel uses this term pretty regular. What is good for the students of Box Elder County? How does the school district feel about that? And so I haven't gotten to know Matt Gwynn as well. Matt Gwynn replaced Lee Perry. Lee Perry was, as we all know, a state trooper. Matt Gwynn is the police chief for Roy City. And so he kind of has that law enforcement wing that's kind of supporting him, and he's really interested in that. But he represents both Box Elder, the southern end of Box Elder, and Weber School District. And I've talked with the Weber School District superintendent, and she also has not had a ton of contact with him. So I didn't feel quite as betrayed or left out as I had been about our school district. And so but I do feel like now I do have at least a relationship. We sat in my office on that Saturday, probably an hour and a half, and had it was uncomfortable at times, but we were able to, I think, muddle through it. And now we have an understanding we can talk to each other better.
So do you guys get Lexi Cunningham's tracking sheets?
Yes.
Oh, so Wade gets them. So
I thought we all got it. don't we?
that's what I'm
To the
curious to
USBA.
know. Because she sends out a weekly update of what's coming out.
I thought everyone through
It comes
USBA
from
got
Lexi.
it.
And that,
So-
and that will let you know what's coming and so then you can contact. Still, le.ut.gov, listen in on the meetings, any chance you get. So, but just, yeah, Sue, we'll talk to Lexi about getting all of our people, getting those emails.
Hey, Julie, from my standpoint, I think the most potent thing that I've learned is I think we need to be working with the legislators, or at least communicating with them probably more than once a year. I think we probably ought to sit down with them in September, have a work session, sit down with them in September and ask them what conversations have existed between the last legislative session and what's coming out of the woodwork for the next legislative session. Because I think if we would have been a little bit more diligent and had those communications prior to December, we maybe would have had a chance. I'm not saying we would have, but I'm saying we maybe would have had a chance to maybe have some votes that would have allowed that House Bill 215 to go out to a referendum. But where they had all that track work already done, and we came in at the last minute, they had already, in my perspective, they already had a plan of action. They knew when they were going to do what and how they were going to do it so that it wouldn't come out to public referendum, because they knew, in my perspective, not speaking on behalf of you guys, that they knew that if it went out to public, it probably would not have passed. So I think we need to have a meeting with our legislators, probably August, September, and just talk to them about what is the conversation going on in the legislative group and get kind of maybe a head start.
Have interim meetings. They meet monthly after the session. So it's not just, they should lock the doors and leave. They have monthly ongoing meetings, and I think a good deal of this was done in the spring, quite frankly. So there are interims, there are things you can be involved with throughout the year, but we do need to work better, longer.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That was a great discussion. Thank you. Now we'll move on to our board committee reports. Did we have any committees that met that would like to report?
We had our capital outlay committee that met. So does anybody like to discuss that?
I feel like Corey did a good job explaining what we discussed.
Yeah. And it was basically this capital outlay that you did budget. So that's what, wasn't anything more than that, we've talked about before with bond and whatnot. So.
Well, and one of the things we did do, so Box Elder needs a new resurface on their track. Was 88, 85? Anyway, and Corey did present that to the group as something we ought to do right away. But in discussion, we felt like with the turf going in and all, we would like to get the turf put in, get that done first, protect the track, and then next year so Box Elder on the list has like 2 projects listed compared to others, but the track is a big one that we have kind of a placeholder for. And there are some things coming that we are looking at that time-wise make no sense to do it now and then drive trucks all over it. Right. So.
Plus, we did have an ad hoc committee that we just wanted to get together to get a feel for, and I'm surprised that we heard public commented on it tonight, because I didn't know that it was really out there. is a discussion on school start times. And so I was surprised by the public comment, quite frankly. And so we met and we invited Julie and Tiffany, and we, as you probably know, Golden Spike has a pretty unique start time and a also unique ending time, and that's caused a lot of chagrin in our community. And so we've been brainstorming how to maybe try to help with that situation. And as we talk to our transportation department, one of the problems is if we bring them back in line with the rest of the schools, that would, because right now they double run that run. They take kids to the high school, middle school, and intermediate school. The bus drivers do. Then they have enough time to run and grab the students that are bused to Golden Spike. But that does cause them to start school at 9:20 and end school at 3:45. And that's caused a lot of problems. So we've brought this group together, and we're actually through personnel. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in a close meeting, because the transportation has told us that in order to bring them back into line, it would take 5 more bus drivers. And right now, we don't have 5 bus drivers. Just I believe 2 weekends ago, we lost 2 bus drivers. And Jason has 5 more than are in the training ranks, but he says generally I have 5 start and maybe 2 to 3 finish. So it's pretty close. So we're going to give you more information on school start times and some plans we have to get a good feel from the community.
Okay, any others? Okay, thank you. On the board committee assignments, I tried to keep those as close as I could to what you had done in the past. So I've talked to many, if not all of you, and hopefully they're okay for this next year, and we'll relook at it again next January, and may make some changes at that time. But anyway, hopefully we're good. The only thing is that we do have our Nancy. Nancy is our, just a couple of things. She is our region-appointed USBA Legislator Priorities Delegate. That was, so we need to update
Because
both.
Julie, I was gonna tell, Julie was
Okay.
elected this year at it.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Tiffany- And then Tiffany is going to represent our district. at-
Okay, and that was decided down in Salt Lake,
Yes.
correct? Okay, so
So good, because I was gonna.
So Julie will be the region appointed and Tiffany is the district appointed, right? Okay, is everyone good with that? We're all good?
Now, just
Okay.
so I'm clear, that's for the delegate assembly. Okay. Okay.
So you let Marcy.
You bet.
Okay. So we'll change that. So Marcy will put that on the new sheet here. So we have that. And one other thing, with our recognitions, I've asked Julie to do it, and she has very kindly said that she would be happy to. And then I've asked Connie to be the backup in case Julie can't do it, or if Julie's absent or something, then Connie will take it from there. Okay? Okay, so let's go on to our student board member report. Michaela.
Okay, so neither school has too much going on, not too many activities, but Box Elder, their choir had the Foundations concert with Bear River. They've had lots of sporting activities and open gyms and stuff like that, and their Sweethearts dance. They said they don't really have any big projects coming up, anything like that, but if there's any ideas of how they can be more involved or help this month, they would love that. And then Bear River, they have a Mr. BR on February 10th. And then the FFA has a lot going on this month. So February 13th through the 17th, they're taking an Ag Expo trip back to California. And then February 21st through the 24th is FFA week. So they're going to be having a bunch of activities throughout that week. And then they're having a Sweethearts contest Tuesday the 21st, and then later on Friday they're having a pageant for that. In wrestling, Max Miller got his 100th pin. And then for the robotics team, they had one team with Wyatt Stolley and Porter Woolley, and they competed at a Las Vegas tournament, and they placed in the top 3. And at this tournament, it hosted 15 different states and seven different foreign countries. So that was pretty interesting, but that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Michaela. Appreciate your report.
Can I just put in a
Oh.
plug for the foundation? I don't know if any were able to go to the concert last night, but it is just unbelievable. Were any of you guys participants in that? It was amazing. And part of the foundation, through the grants that we received, we were able to pay for these guest conductors. And the gentleman they had last night was from the University of Missouri. And both high schools, they did very well. It's the biggest crowd I have ever seen, and I've been going to those for a long time, but the auditorium was just packed. February 27th is the Foundation Orchestra, so we have a guest conductor coming in, and that's at Bear River. So I would just encourage you to support the foundation. But these, and I know, Brian, you've had several students go to that, but when we bring in those guest conductors, they're pretty amazing. It was a great evening and represented our district very well.
Gary, will you just make sure, and along with Tiffany and the superintendent as well, that the board knows about all these things? Because I think we'd love to attend, we just don't always know, so, okay? Because I know they are wonderful things. The ones I've been to have been amazing, so.
Do you know what time on that?
Usually it's 7.
Is it at Box Elder High School?
Bear River.
It's at Bear River. Okay.
There is no cost. We accept donations, but there is no cost. Right, we have one big grant. It was Kane Foundation. That was a lady that, Marie Russell, excuse me. But she grew up in this community. They left the executor of this estate now is up in Montana, but they're a really big funding for at least our concerts.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll go on to our policy review. We have one policy that's to be deleted, policy 3080. Superintendent, can you tell us why that is being deleted?
Well, it has to do with, this was put into place when AIDS and HIV were a really big item, and there was some items in there that would preclude people with HIV or AIDS to be able to do certain things. And with the medicine in place now, that no longer is needed. So Bonnie Young recommended that we delete this.
Okay. Okay, so we have policies for review with no changes, and then first reading and second reading. So how would you like to go about that?
I'll move we approve policy to delete and the policy reviews with no changes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first from Nancy Kennedy and a second from Julie. We'll do a roll call vote.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Julie Taylor, yes.
Danielle Wright, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes.
Connie Archibald, yes.
Tiffany Summers, yes.
Brian Smith, yes.
Nancy Kennedy, yes.
Okay. The policy, that section of the policies passed. So now we'll go on to the next one, to the first reading. Questions? Okay, Karen?
$52.70, down on page 11. It talks about that we have a report that we're supposed to do to the state superintendent. And I'm just wondering if we could also get that report coming to the board so that we'd have some idea of knowing the number of verified and alleged incidents of bullying, cyberbullying, and hazing and retaliation.
Yes, I think we prepare that every year, and so we'll have to make, I'm looking at my belt companions to make sure, and even Dave, when we prepare that report that we'll pass it on to you. Okay. And I'll go back and look when the last time. It's weird how Dave and I talked about I think it was the school fees. We turned that in October, I think we decided, Dave. And so it's unique when some of these get sent out. And I will also say those principals at the back are familiar with the next term I'm about to say, and it's the CRDC report. And that's every other year, and Jeremy Young's in charge of that. So there might be a correlation between those two. I think it's probably, that's the one that they end up getting all that information about discipline issues, fights, all those types of things. And so I'll check into that. Sure.
With that, I would make a motion that we pass the policies on first reading.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first by Karen Cronin, a second by Connie Archibald. And we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Karen.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Julie Taylor, yes.
Danielle Wright, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes?
Connie Archibald, yes.
Tiffany Summers, yes.
Brian Smith, yes.
Nancy Kennedy, yes?
Okay, motion passes, and now we go on to second reading, and we only have one policy, policy 5291, drug and alcohol testing of students participating in extracurricular activities.
I'll move we approve the second reading.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Nancy Kennedy, a second by Brian Smith. All in favor, starting with Karen.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Julie Taylor, yes.
Danielle Wright, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes?
Connie Archibald, yes.
Tiffany Summers, yes.
Brian Smith, yes.
Nancy Kennedy, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention something, President, but this will wrap up at least the ones that the legislature did from last legislative session. And our policy committee will not be meeting for the next few months until the bills that are currently being put into place are then read and structured and sent forward to us. And where I would really be remiss if I did not mention Marcy Hatch, who organizes this and understands our policy manual better, I will be very honest, better than probably the superintendent of the school district. But luckily I have her right at my elbow all day long, so she can find things. I understand the policy, but she knows right exactly where they are. And she rides herd on Dave, Gary, Heidi, Joe, and Keith to make sure we check our policies, because we each have certain sections of our policy manual, and she does an outstanding job with this.
Well, and every year we plead for the legislature to stop passing so dang many things. We had 160 bills passed last year that related specifically to education. No other entity in the state has as much legislation. So it takes us now this full time to get done, and we start over in July after the attorneys go through them, and we start then. That's what you tell your legislator. Leave us alone.
Or make all the micro schools and home schools and everybody else have the same thing and see if they still want to.
Okay, yes, Gary, that's okay. February 23rd. Okay, thank you, Gary. Thank you. Okay, now we'll go to our board discussion items, our book study. We have a new book starting this month. I Love It Here by Clint Pulver. And I've tried to simplify this a little bit. I hope it works a little better. We've decided to assign everyone a chapter and have them get a little 3-minute or less overview of the chapter. And then if anybody else wants to comment on it, they certainly can. So first of all, we have chapter 1, A Single Moment in Time, and Connie Archibald's going to review that. And in chapter 2 is Are You the Problem or the Solution? And Julie Taylor is going to give us an overview on that. So we'll start with Connie. Right. Chapter 1.
Well, I had a lot of things that I had underlined.
Here we go.
Let's see. was, it was me.
It's okay, just
Okay.
say a couple things that are underlined.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I was kind of impressed with is that there is a CEO business philosophy that says you grow or you die. And I think that's true that we all need to be progressing. We all need to be improving. And I think that's the message for me, at least, is that we have moments in our life that are hard, but they usually help us to grow. And if we're not growing, then we're not moving in a good direction. They also said everything is digital now, and our ability to stay alive and successful means that we've had to create a whole new model to attract and entice our customers. Then it says, he turned to face us again, arms folded and face stern. I'll say it again. You want to survive, then you've got to keep up, grow or die. Any questions? So it's so important that we do that we just do our best to make the most of those things that come to us and that confront us and grow from it. So that would be my message.
Okay. Thank you, Connie. Anyone like to comment on chapter 1?
I'll just add
Okay.
add to that as a district schools, we need to do the same, right? We've got to not do things the way we did it when I was in kindergarten. We need to see what needs to be done today. So that's very applicable to us.
Absolutely. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay, Julie, chapter 2.
Okay, so chapter 2 is
May I interrupt? Did you assign her that because is
the problem.
No, I'm kidding.
I know, it was very introspective. No.
I did not assign. I did not assign.
Are you the problem or the solution? And I really, actually, this hit me because one of the things I underlined is, here's the truth. As a leader, you're either the number one reason your employees stay or you're the number one reason that they leave. And I thought about that, and I think of the culture of a district, the culture of a school, the culture of, all those things, and it really makes a difference. There are things that you can do. Now we all have problems. There's always something that we could do better. But are we looking for the solutions versus just, this is a problem. Oh, this is a problem. And I've kind of been in this is a problem scenario with this whole legislator. I've been kind of upset. Actually, not kind of. I've been very upset. I was like, dang those I just want to be upset. But then I realized, we as educators, though, and as we're going to do our job. We're going to take what they give us and we're going to make it better. And doesn't mean we're going to just lay over and say that's fine, but it's something that we still are creative and we find solutions. And I thought that's what this was all about, is if you're investing in your people and investing in training and helping them, then the whole system works better. He talked about the trouble with turnover. And I think in teaching, especially where our goal is for students to learn at high levels, like we ensure students learn for high levels, we need to retain good teachers to ensure that. Because if we've got a new crop of teachers, it takes a while. I mean, I'm a teacher. I know what that first year of teaching is like. I know what the second, the third, it takes a while to get in and know what you're doing. And that makes a huge difference in the lives of students. And I think as a district, we've really tried hard to focus on this, but there's always things we can do better. And I think that one of the things that's sad about this legislative thing is, we oppose this bill, but we support the teachers 100%. So if we would have split that bill, we would have been 100% to give the teachers a raise and 100% against the other one. And so sometimes when we're stuck in this middle, like we don't have a choice, then I'm like, that's a problem. And I like to focus on, I like to debate things. And I want to be right. And I want everybody to know why I'm right. But after it's done, the bill's passed, I need to learn how to be a solution. So it was kind of, you said that jokingly, Superintendent, but I really took it. I'm like, am I the problem? But if they don't feel valued, if they don't even know, if they don't share or know your vision, then how it helps them lead a more fulfilling life, they're going to go elsewhere. And we have teachers leaving the profession and maybe just leaving our district. And some are for valid reasons. We can't keep everybody, and not everything's a fit for everybody. But I really hope that we take this personally, because I really think that we can do great things working together to create solutions, but we have to recognize that it is important to value and keep our people. I'm done. I set a timer.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'd
Thank
like
you,
to
Julie.
add on to
Thank you.
that, just our work session today with the three principals in the back, talking about the third E, which is, you know, I always get this one, expands teacher appreciation. And you see what they're doing, and we try our best to help support them from our level, but it really does put a lot of pressure, I think, on our principals to make sure that they know that they're appreciated, and from our level to make sure we're not raining down a bunch of dumb things that the teachers have to do to make them disgruntled. So we really take that very seriously, what you're talking about, and we understand how important it is to have great teachers. And these four young folks, I think you guys know how awesome it is to have a great teacher in your classroom that you know cares about you, who also knows something about the subject. What a great combination. And if they know a lot about the subject and don't care about you, that's not really that good either, is it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, thank you. That was great. Next month, Tiffany will do chapter 3 and Heidi Jo will do chapter 4. So, okay, thank you so much. So let's go on to our consent items. We need a motion, a second.
I move we approve our consent items.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Brian Smith and a second by Tiffany Summers, and we'll do a roll call starting with Karen.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Julie Taylor, yes.
Danielle Wright, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes.
Connie Archibald, yes.
Tiffany Summers, yes.
Brian Smith, yes.
Nancy Kennedy, yes.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any suggestions for future board meetings? Pretty much
Just the
everything there?
September meant having our meeting with our legislators in September, which was mentioned
That's,
by our business administrator.
yeah, by Dave. We want to write that down. That would be a good idea.
I think we do it earlier than September.
Okay.
If we go to a big meeting in August, and Paul started.
That's the ALEC, that's the national one where all these lovely bills are handed out and ready to go.
July.
July?
We usually have a big one in July. Already, right?
That's when they get their ideas.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So August?
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 Well, but they still have been working on local things. So the ALEC are national things that come out. So they've been working on local stuff through the year. So I think with the county fair and with Peach Days and all, I think we might be ahead to try and work with them a little sooner, but whatever
Okay.
you guys decide.
Well, Superintendent, we can work that out, right?
I'll work with those
Okay.
guys and bring some ideas to you in the next couple of months.
Okay,
When I say those guys, our legislators, be a little bit more professional.
okay.
Them
Sounds
guys.
good. Them there guys. Okay. Perfect. Upcoming events, remember the NSBA conference in Orlando, April 1st through 3rd. That's going to be a great conference. Make sure I think everybody's pretty much registered, those that are going, and we got all that worked out. If not, talk to Marcy. She's kind of in charge of all that. So, and now what we need to do, we're going to go into closed session to discuss personnel items. So we need a motion and a second to do that.
I move we go into closed session to discuss items of personnel nature.
Okay, Brian Smith made the motion, and was it Karen? Karen Cronin, the second, the motion, and we'll start with Karen on the roll call.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Julie Taylor, yes.
Danielle Wright, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes.
Connie Archibald, yes.
Tiffany Summers, yes.
Brian Smith, yes.
Nancy Kennedy, yes?
Okay, now we're going to go into closed session, knowing that that's our very last item, so we're going to probably close our meeting in the closed session as well. So we probably will not be coming back here, so just so you know that, okay? So thank you all for
High
attending.
school students, how was it? Just so you know, this is probably the shortest meeting we've had for quite a while. So you guys lucked out just by this agenda.
So true.
Superintendent told me he was going to do a recall on the president if it went past 8:05.
There you go.
So. Pretty close.
Well, it has to pass, yeah. That's a huge one. Yeah, that's a good idea, you know, we're always looking for ideas, we just talk about them out legislative process. Yeah. Well, I don't get to listen to it because it's based on culture. Good,
I haven't
thank you,
either.
thank you. Where should we go? We got that room back there, I think.
Okay, we're going to go out to the room right over here. Is it where we have the reports?
Yes.
Okay, where we have the principal reports, we're going to go into that room.
As I used to. What a great way to reach your parents. It's been good. I have. Facebook, they still they don't know what's going on. You know what? You've got to do something with your that is so I can only do so much. Yeah. No, I think that's an awesome thing you're doing. Thank you.
Yes, that is just a singular waiver. 77. That's a total of 77. So this is the total dollar. That is the combination of all these units. Yeah. So this is for managing fees waived. That is the total number charged.
You're leaving all your stuff?
So it's not.
Yes, I did see that. I written down the
I didn't know. I don't know why I spaced it. Well, I read it, but I didn't know that I was.